So, in my last video, I talked about the Lions and the offseason and how they went. And now I'm going to be talking about the rest of the Detroit teams. I am I'm combining this into one video because unlike the Lions, I do not follow the other Detroit teams that much. I follow the Lions a lot more. So, these other Detroit teams, they got three Detroit teams, which is great, including including the Lions. Apparently, I'm leaving. Go. Including the Lions, they got the Detroit Pistons, Detroit Tigers, and the Detroit Red Wings. Detroit Red Wings are gonna be fun. All right, first let's start off with the Detroit Pistons. First, this happened back in November. The Pistons owner Tom Gore, they announced that they are moving back to the city of Detroit into Little Caesars Arena. They're going to be sharing an arena with the Detroit Red Wings, and that's going to bring them back to the arena, back to Detroit for the first time since the 1970s. So they're going to be leaving Auburn Hills, and then it's going to be start of the 2017-2018 season. They'll be back. As for now, when it comes to the playoff picture, they are 2.5 games back. They have lost like the last 9 of the last, wait no, 8 of the last 10, and that streak really hurts them in the playoffs. I mean, even if they won half of those games, they would have easily, would more than likely got into the 8th seed of the playoffs. Even if they won like half of those, they still wouldn't have made it. But honestly, after that streak, they won't make the playoffs. Or I should say, it's going to be very hard to make the playoffs with like 7 games left in the season. What else? Yeah, so they can hopefully, when the season's done with them, they can get to the draft and get good draft picks and get better basketball players. Yeah, here's the Detroit Tigers. Now, let's see. Alright, so season training. Preseason, at first I thought they were going to suck. I mean, they were last in the Grapefruit League for a while, and then they started winning all these games, and I thought they were going to be like, okay, at least they're winning games now. Because at first I'm like, oh shit, that's going to be a bad season for them now. They're going to be like last in everything. Going to be last everywhere. No matter what they do, they're going to be last. And then they started winning goddamn games. And it's like, oh yeah, now you finally start winning. It's like, okay. Now Al Avila knows what he's doing. Now Brad Austin's finally decided to turn his brain on and finally decide to coach his team to make it like they're winning again. So I'm very optimistic about this team this upcoming baseball season. I don't know what's gonna happen to them. I think it's really hard to predict. I think they're gonna be the same as last year, maybe better, maybe worse. That's how I don't know. That's pretty much how I don't know bad they'll do or good. I think they'll be about the same. I mean, last year they almost made the playoffs. The postseason. They almost made the postseason last year. I think they were like only like 2 games out of the postseason. In fact, there would have been an extra game necessary if that game would have come down. If one game would have come down to the playoffs, that game would have been necessary to have it if it would have only come down to one game. Yeah. Tigers, optimistic. I really don't know what to think of them anymore or how to figure it out. Alright, there goes the Tigers. Now, the Red Wings, the Detroit Red Wings. What the fuck happened to them? Oh, yeah. Yeah. What the fuck happened to them? The playoff streak ended. 25 years of playoff streak. They ended. Honestly, I keep saying fucking honestly. I knew they weren't gonna make the playoffs this year. I thought they weren't gonna make the playoffs last year. They barely got in last year. I knew they weren't gonna make the playoffs this year. They sucked. You know what happened to them? Jeff Blashill happened to them. He took over the team over Mike Babcock, and then they started going downhill from there. I don't know. Does he know how to coach an NHL team? He coached the minor affiliate with the Red Wings, the Grand Rapids Griffins, so I don't know. Maybe this is too hard for him because apparently the Red Wings at one time were the worst in the East. I don't know if they're still the worst in the East. I haven't checked that. But yeah, they're the worst in the East. They were never going to make the playoffs. And at this very moment, the best that they can do is be optimistic and hope for the best come the next season because the season's done. I don't know. They're done. Hopefully this is considered rock bottom and they can start getting better next year because as Detroit, we're all used to being making the playoffs, and now that this is the first time making the playoffs, this is unfamiliar territory. I mean, like businesses down there in downtown. They would make a few extra bucks because they were guaranteed they make the playoffs, and now they're gonna lose that money now because they're not making the playoffs. So the only thing to do now is look for the future with the Red Wings and hope for the best, and hopefully they can get better players, and they have good players. I'm not denying that they do. It's just that I don't know what happened to them the last 2 years. Even when they were making playoffs, they didn't even get past the intro rounds. So yeah, hope for the best, and it looks like the only team that is actually rising now is the Detroit Lions, actually, to be honest. Every team is falling except for the Detroit Lions. They're rising. It's like a parallel universe in Metro Detroit right now because the Lions used to be the worst and everyone else used to be great. And now the Lions are getting so much better and everyone else is getting worse. It's a parallel universe in Metro Detroit. I'm signing out. Bye.